to Official Rules, a Sweepstakes podcast. I'm your host, Jay Victor, and thank you for joining me for episode number 1, being recorded on August 16th, 2024. On this episode, we'll be covering some Sweepstakes Basics, tips, tricks, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts on this or any other topic, including some recent or biggest wins you've had, drop me a line. Email address for the show is sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. Again, sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. I myself have been sweeping since 2018, but didn't really get serious about it until around 2022, and that's when I started doing daily sweepstakes. I first caught the bug back in 2014 when I was on Facebook and happened to drop my name into a drawing for an NHL shop gift card. And I won, and it was a $150 gift card. It was super exciting, and I would have to say that's the contest that got me hooked on sweeping. I eventually started in 2018 just with really basic kind of one-time entries. I thought, the dailies are some really good prizes, but who has time for that? Well, eventually I figured out for the amount of time that you have in a day, plus obviously whatever time you decide to get up before work, you could always squeeze in a half hour to an hour of time to end up doing daily contests, and that's really when I started winning. When I was only doing the single entry drawings, I would win once in a while, every blue moon, and the odds of getting that done consistently, unless you're really, really lucky and have a lot of good luck on your side, is really slim to none. The daily contests, although obviously they take up the most time, they give you your best shots of winning, without a doubt. 2023 was definitely by far my best year. It started with an Instagram win through the vacuum company Bissell. I was able to get my in-laws this pet cleaner, which was a nice win, and it was a good kickoff to 2023. And I won some, small stuff for the rest of 2023, but it really kicked in November. That was a huge month for me, so I won my first prize over $1,000 through a co-op collab between Family Dollar and Celsius. It was an electric bike. That bike retailed for almost $2,000. The actual retail value, or ARV, as a lot of sweepstakes people will say. The actual retail value for that vehicle was $1,999. I did end up selling it to a friend of mine for $1,100 because even though I had the actual retail value listed at $19,999, that bike has always been on sale, and the realistic value, or the cash value, whatever you want to call it, and for, in many cases, tax purposes, the fair market value, which we'll get into later, was much lower. So I was able to cash out on that. And then subsequently, a week later, I got a email from Modelo telling me that I had won not only 2 tickets to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, but also $1,000 in cash, which the timing on that was absolutely perfect before the holidays. And then we rounded it all out with Heartland America Media Player that hooks up to your TV. So 2023 certainly ended with a bang. As of this recording, August 2024, my sweepstakes streak dates back to December of 2022. Whether it's something big or something really, really small, I've won something every month through sweepstakes, which makes this hobby a fantastic hobby. So you're ready to go a little bit further than the single entry contest. If you want to go a little bit further, you could then move on to the monthly contest, which by its name shows you that the entries will be once a month. So again, if you're short on time, you don't want to dive too far ahead of yourself as far as getting into this hobby, you can move on to the monthly, then possibly the weekly sweepstakes. Now, getting back to the dailies, as I had mentioned before, if you can afford the time to set aside a half hour to an hour every day, first thing in the morning, maybe midday, maybe at the end of the night when you're about to go to bed. The dailies by far are going to give you the absolute best chance of winning cash and winning prizes. The folks that you see online, and if you ever join a sweepstakes group or any of the forums at the various websites, which we'll get into later, the folks who win consistently are the ones who enter consistently, specifically the daily contest. There'll be some daily contests that are short term. They'll only run for 3 to 5 days. There'll be other ones that run for a month or two. And then there will be other ones that run a year or more. And you'll notice this in a lot of the beverage companies, Heineken, Red Stripe. They all have a very similar form that you have to fill out in full with your name, your address, your email, your date of birth. And this is something that you have to do day in and day out. So it is definitely a commitment if you're looking at this from the standpoint of time and being a hobby. However, in many cases, and depending on who you talk to, if you are doing the sweepstakes entries online, obviously, either through a desktop or through your phone, in many cases, the platform that you're using is going to have an autofill feature. Like, for instance, Windows will understand to pre-fill your name, your address, your telephone number, your date of birth. And you could also go into your Windows settings or your phone settings and change what your phone number is, what your email address is, how do you want your name formatted when you're doing these entries. You have other ways to fill out forms by either just typing out every single one, which takes obviously the most time. And then lastly, you have robo-forms, which are software programs that are by far the easiest, that will fill out all the forms for you. But word of caution, a lot of websites are getting smarter now and can catch the fact that a robo-form is being used. And as the title of the podcast states, you always have to read the official rules, because in there it will even tell you that any type of manipulation to the sweepstakes or any type of programs that you would use to fill out the forms, if you get caught, and I'm not a tech savvy computer guy who knows all the ins and outs of how robo forms and websites work, but let's say there is a way that they could find out that you're using one, all that work that you've put into it, you'll be disqualified. So that is not too great. So my advice, obviously, on any single entry sweepstakes, take the time, fill out the form completely without having to use any kind of autofill or robotic filler. When it comes to the dailies, do as you may. If you have the time, certainly fill out everything with every keystroke. Or if you don't have time, use some kind of autofill or robo form to get that done for yourself. So once you figure out how many sweepstakes you want to do, the type of sweepstakes you want to do, also the type of prizes you want to win, how do we find these sweepstakes? Well, luckily enough, unlike 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, when everything was done by mail or filling out pieces of paper, you have so many websites at your disposal to be able to look up sweepstakes, potentially create an account so it can track your sweepstakes. They will always give you a breakdown of what type of sweepstakes is it, what is the prize, what are the links to the entry rules, how many times can you enter, Are there any specifics? Is it only for certain states or zip codes? Or is it open to all 50 states in the United States? And as I mentioned, there's a lot of great websites out there. I use one in particular called Sweepstakes Fanatics. So you can go to sweepstakesfanatics.com, or in your browser, if you use Google as a search engine, you could just type in Sweepstakes Fanatics, and it will take you directly to the website. It's run by a great gentleman named Todd, who gave me permission to specifically refer to his website that I've actually been using for years. So thank you so much for that, Todd. I really appreciate it. My favorite thing about Todd's website is the user interface. So when you go to the main page of Sweepstakes Fanatics, right away, you're going to start seeing listings of the newest sweepstakes. And you can start from there and just start filling in your information by clicking on it, seeing if you qualify to submit an entry, and fill out to your heart's content. Now again, let's say you're not going full bore into the hobby and you want to be a little bit more picky about it. Well, the great thing about Todd's website is that he has an ending soon page. So you can see, well, this sweepstakes is ending today or tomorrow or 3 days from now. So his website actually breaks it down and gives you the option to look at the sweepstakes that are ending today, all the way through the 10th day, and they are updated consistently. And Todd does a great job. He also has his own winners list and Hall of Fame. So if you win something and want to post your win, you can easily navigate to the front page and add your name and as much information as you want to give about the prize to the winners list, which is really fantastic. If you don't want to enter every single sweepstakes willy-nilly, and you're specifically looking for automobile sweepstakes or cash sweepstakes or sweepstakes to win a home or a television or some kind of video game system, he has a great breakdown of categories on his website that will point you in the right direction and filter out everything that you need versus all the stuff that you don't need. So again, in my opinion, Sweepstakes Fanatics, to me, by far the best sweepstakes website out there. There's other great ones such as Sweepstakes Advantage, Infinite Sweeps, and many others. My preference is just based on the layout that Todd has submitted. And it seems like, and I could be wrong, all the new sweepstakes tend to go up on his site first, which leads me to believe that he really has his pulse on this hobby. And if you go to the other websites, possibly a half hour, an hour, a half day after he posts the sweepstakes, you'll see those sweepstakes end up on those sites. So I wouldn't put it against them to be visiting Todd's site and copying the sweepstakes off his site. But thank you again, Todd, for letting me use your site by name. It's been a fantastic resource for me and my hobby. And again, I think it's just the nicest, cleanest, easiest layout to be able to follow. And Todd's such a great guy. He doesn't charge for any access to the site. So bravo, Todd. Now, if you're looking to engage in some conversations, have some questions for other folks that have been in the hobby for many years, I did also mention Sweepstakes Advantage, which is another great website. I typically use their site for the forum feature. So they have a great Hall of Fame and Winners Gallery where people will post photos and longer descriptions of their wins. And it's just a great place to give everybody their kudos and a pat on the back, and even show off the stuff that you've won from this great hobby. So Sweepstakes Advantage has, in my opinion, the best forum out there for the sweepstakes hobby. So I didn't want to move on without giving them their love, and they've been great as well, and I've had a really good time using their site and meeting a lot of folks on there that share the hobby, many of which that are actually local to me in New England as well. So kudos to Sweepstakes Advantage also. So now we've figured out the type of sweepstakes you want to enter. We've given you some websites to be able to find the sweepstakes. But you may be asking yourself, Jay, why is this podcast called Official Rules? Well, the most important thing to me and a lot of the folks who do sweepstakes out there, before even entering into a sweepstakes or any type of contest, is that any legitimate sweepstakes will have an easy link, sometimes in very small print, but it's usually there on the page before you submit your entry, is going to be a link to the official rules, which is why I named my podcast Official Rules. This will give you, A, everything you need to know about the sweepstakes, but B, and really important to note this as well, it's going to be the dead giveaway that a sweepstakes is actually legitimate, because if it doesn't have an official rules page, you may want to kind of pump the brakes and take a better look at it to see if it's an actual sweepstakes. You see a lot of these posts on Facebook where they show a picture of Tyler Perry saying, I'm giving away 10 RVs. Just go ahead and put your Cash App or your name in the post, and you'll see hundreds and thousands of people thinking that it's an actual giveaway without any official rules, with a page that's been up for a day or two. And they just get suckered in. God knows what kind of information they ask them over some kind of instant message. But typically when you click on official rules, it will be essentially a plain Word document with subsets of different sections, typically 1 through 12 or 1 through 16, that will let you know the entry period, who is eligible, how many times you can enter, the methods or multiple methods for which you can enter, privacy policies, hold harmless sections, and a lot of legalese, which may not matter. But usually when you click on these official rules, if you see that document, and they all really do look pretty much the same, except for the explanations, the format is relatively the same all the way throughout, that will let you know in the majority of cases that you're entering a legitimate and safe sweepstakes to enter and to give your personal information. Now, this personal information will obviously be things like name, address, telephone number, and email. I would probably hold off, and many people would hold off, under the following circumstances if a sweepstakes ever asks you upfront during the entry period for things like a credit card or your social security number or any kind of private information that isn't just available by Googling your name. In a lot of cases, and especially in the United States, where they have laws that protect people and set up a set of rules and guidelines that companies have to follow when running a sweepstakes, you cannot charge someone for entering, and all these sweepstakes have to be no purchase necessary or offer a no purchase necessary entrance or option to opt into the contest. Now, in many cases, it's a lot easier to enter via a mail-in entry with a 3.5 by 5 card or a 3 by 5 index card or postcard or whatever the rules state to use, which is also very important and does make a difference about that ½ inch on the index card. But a lot of different sweepstakes will, in essence, require purchases. For an example, and I love Little Caesars, but Little Caesars runs their sweepstakes and in effect says, go to this website, give us the code off of your receipt or this particular barcode that is on your receipt. And you can do that once a day, every day for a week, and you can get 7 entries per week. Or if you like, you could send in 1 index card every day for a week, which will also mean 7 stamps per week. So they kind of skirt the rules by saying, yeah, we'll give you a free option, but it's going to be much easier to make a purchase, or in a lot of cases, which I know people do this, they have a friend that works at Little Caesars. Now, obviously, if you are working at Little Caesars, you will not be eligible to win a prize. How they would know whether you work there or not, I have no idea, but a lot of people make friends or have friends that work at these places and ask them to gather receipts and collect receipts, which, is it cheating or is it brilliant? You can look at it one or two ways. If you have an opinion either way, again, our email here is going to be sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. Again, sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. But send me your thoughts. Are you bending the rules? Are you working within the rules by making friends or having a friend at a retail location that can save up receipts, hand them over to you, and then you could enter sweepstakes at your leisure instead of having to submit a handwritten postcard with a stamp? I know I'll probably get a whole bunch of different answers, and I have a good idea of where everybody is going to be leaning, especially in the sweepstakes community. But that's just a guess. One of the segments that I would like to have on this podcast now and going forward is going to be my bag alert section. So the bag alert is going to be any recent wins or decent wins that I've had. And this bag alert is brought to you by Venmo. And if you're listening to this podcast and you've been doing sweepstakes for a while, there is a good chance that you won it as well, because from the last time I saw, I believe there were either going to be like 100 or 1,000 winners from Venmo groups. And yours truly, Jay Victor, just received $500 via Venmo, which then I subsequently sent to my bank account. Again, cash is always great timing-wise, but the Venmo group sweepstakes was super easy. If you had a Venmo account, you basically had to just create a group with one of your Venmo friends. In this case, it was one of my coworkers, Christina G. Shout out to Christina G. And we set up a Venmo group and basically put in a couple of hashtags for the sweepstakes and some, in essence, bills that we had around our work that we would split with each other. And wouldn't you know who won the pony? I got I believe it was a direct message, or I got a notification on my phone last week that said there was a deposit into my Venmo account, and it looked very legit right off the bat, so I clicked on it because it had the Venmo logo, and sure enough, $500. So great bag alert as far as that goes, and the second highest amount of money that I've ever won in a sweepstakes. And again, timing is always great for cash, because who couldn't always use cash at any time, right? Now, do you have your own bag alert? Have you won something recently, or can you even just tell us about any kind of massive win you've had over the past year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What is the biggest thing you've ever won? I would love to hear from folks that have won thousands of dollars, or a 7 to 14 day trip, or cars or motorcycles, anything like that. I would love to hear from you. Maybe even you won the Mega Millions or the Powerball lottery. Let us know. Again, email to us here for any questions or any other kind of prize alerts, any suggestions that you have, thoughts, anything of the kind, sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. Again, sweepstakespodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and would love to gain some knowledge on what you think this hobby should be, or what you've won, or just anything you'd like to add that could help me produce better content. With all that being said, we're going to call it a day. I want to thank you so much for joining me on episode 1 of Official Rules, a Sweepstakes podcast. Feel free to reach out. I'll be doing another episode very soon, basically doing a recap of this week's latest sweepstakes that have come out. And there's some great ones out there. I would love to get your thoughts on it as well. In the meantime, again, my name is Jay Victor, and I'll be signing off. Thank you for joining us on Official Rules, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
This has been a father and son production.